Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Myself, Jessica Jones, and my lovely co-host here. Say hello, Mike.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Welcome. So we're just going to begin this journey tonight together by taking a moment to center in and start off with a little blessing. So if we all just close our eyes and take a deep breath in here. And just exhale, releasing it out with a sigh. How deeply grateful I am to be here present with you all for this first of many on-air hangouts. I know that in this moment, everything is divine, everything is perfect, everything is unfolding for our highest and best good. I know that there is no mistake made in the people who have arrived. To those that made the intention to be a part of this infosphere, there is not one throwback in the bunch. And this divine presence, whatever you choose to call it, is made in the image and likeness of you. And I just want to say, I bless this time together with Mike and myself, and I hope that you all receive our words as the highest love for your deepest calling. And so it is, I simply say, amen. So we're going to begin off every chat that we do here with a blessing, because it aligns us as one, and we take that deep breath together and we become one in that moment. And you can use that anytime in your life, pretty much, right, Mike? Anytime you want to align with someone as one, you just breathe with them and you allow yourself to become present in that moment. So that's how we'll begin every one of these calls, every first Wednesday of the month. And then we'll have an affirmation, something that you can take within and spend your time working on that throughout the week until our next call. So our affirmation that we're going to set the tone for this particular hangout is going to be, I open myself to the healing powers of love. Yes, powerful right there. I open myself to the healing powers of love. That is our affirmation. Let that just sink in and let that be a part of your entire week from this moment on. So pretty much today's show is going to be all about self-love and what that means on this planet, and what that means right now for humanity, and what that means for you as an individual. Because, well, me and Mike were talking about the other day, and we were just thinking things are kind of messed up, the way that we look at our lives and ourselves, and the way that we nurture ourselves. So being myself who is obsessed with words, I went and did a little research and threw out the dictionary, because I wanted to know, what vibration are we putting out into the universe around the word self-love? And this is exactly what it says in the dictionary. The instinct by which one's actions are directed to the promotion of one's own welfare or well-being, especially on excessive regard for one's own advantage. The second definition is conceited vanity, and the third is narcissism. Let's just let that sink in for a moment and realize where, Mike, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm getting some feedback.
Hi. Mike, I lost your microphone. Are you still there? Well, while he's getting his microphone set up, pretty much we're talking about this idea that in our culture has had this idea that self-love is something that comes from outside of ourselves, or that self-love is bad, that if you love yourself, you're a narcissist, or you're conceited, or you're vain, or all of these negative words have built a foundation around this idea of self-love. But really, what's so wrong about loving yourself? You know, what's so wrong about having that moment where you recognize, wow, it's okay to truly love and accept myself? So we want to just touch on what's happening in our culture that has gotten us to the place where we feel love comes from the external world and it doesn't come from within. That definition right there is a starting point, because pretty much you sit there and you read it and you bring that vibration into your life every time you hear the self-love definition. I'd like to acknowledge whoever's just joined us. Welcome, welcome. Michael, are you there? Is your headphones working? Are you there? No. No, I don't hear your microphone right now. Let's see. So, Anyways, well, are you getting your headphones back in? Perfect. So,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I just with this headpiece, I was getting a little bit of feedback, so that's why I turned it off. So I guess we're good now, though.
Yes.
All
So,
right, cool.
yeah, go ahead, dive right in.
Yeah, I think the materials that are being provided in the framework that we are operating from, the paradigm that we're operating from, is from a place of the ego primarily, and I think that we are continually maintaining a level of separation from ourselves by creating definitions that keep us away from loving and nurturing ourselves in a very intimate and emotional way. And I think that those definitions will continue to keep us from empowering ourselves to be able to get connected with who we are and to really learn how to love and nurture and value ourselves. If we continue to live in that paradigm, and if we continue to believe that self-love should be superficial.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's teaching us that this love, we were taught when we were younger that if you are to experience love in this life, you better go find it. You better go find someone to love you, or an animal to love you, or a cookie to love you, anything.
Right.
Sugar was my longtime love for the first, 25 years of my life. Sugar was my love. And there was a lot within my heart, and it's all built up in that way. Me and Michael were talking about how the chakra system, our lower three chakras, our root, our sacral, and our solar plexus are really the foundations where we form our self-love and our self-worth and our values in this world. And unfortunately, because we have a system that's built on fear, lack, and limitation, scarcity, not enough, our lower chakras, the ones that are founded on, our root chakra, is our security in this world. But we are raised to believe that we're in a limited lack consciousness when that is not real. So we go through our lives seeking out, needing more, and not having enough, and constantly feeling like we're inadequate. So there at our root, we get our first block from the structures that we learn. And then we go into our second, where we have our sacral chakra, and we enjoy sexual pleasures, and life becomes a little bit more enjoyable. But then here we have societies and different cultures that have, in America, for instance, a woman is beautiful if she's thin, while in the Mideast, a woman is beautiful if she's heavier. These different ideas were put in magazines, on television, on all of these different things to say to people, hey, your beauty is defined by what you look like. And until you match society's image of beauty, you have no self-worth. And that's a really sad thing, to recognize, because it's bred now a dysfunctional sacral chakra. So now we have these people who go out on the prowl to get laid because their sacral chakra is dysfunctional, so they're needing more and more and more to receive pleasure because they don't have proper functioning here. So they get in relationships, bred off sex, bred off these other things, and then when the sex fades and that lust washes away, they're left still wondering, well, why am I not experiencing love? Like, what happened to the love? It looks like you want to say something, so go ahead and interject.
No, I wanted to add to that. I think you're absolutely right, and that's that is the primary place where we begin to cultivate self-love and begin to go inward in creating a deep connection and intimacy with our feelings. This is where we begin to give ourselves permission to feel how we feel and to actually look at who we are and to make a decision that we want to be honest about our behaviors and our ideas and our communications, and we want to look at the underlying motivations for the things that we do in our lives. These are how we break down the walls from identifying ourselves externally in life through our bodies, through our relationships, through our sexuality, through our careers, through our material items, through all of these things that we do that we utilize as a means of identifying ourselves and giving ourselves a false sense of value. This is the fundamental ground where we begin to develop that deep intimacy with ourselves and say, look, I am just inherently valuable, and if I can get in touch with that myself, that value in myself, and really look at who I am, I can begin to really balance that chakra and lay a strong foundation of self-love.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that message. Yeah, it's so crazy how well I think that the one part is that, people, that idea, getting to that point of having the self-love and even knowing that they have a chakra system that is blocked. That is the number one part. We have a bunch of people who are walking around asleep on this planet who have no idea that they even have a chakra system and these energies running through their body, and that they don't even know that they are energy. They still believe that they're a human. And that
Mhm.
is all there is. But we'll get to that in another show.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're right. Absolutely.
And then we were talking about, keeping it within these lower chakras and how the societies we live in have bred us to really have a lack consciousness in this area, which has bred people who have no self-esteem, no self-love, no self-values, really, even because their values were programmed into them to be societal values, and then they never learned to think what their own values were. And then we were talking about how moving up into our third chakra now, where the food and that system that we see in, I know I've traveled to a lot of parts of this world, so I know for sure it's definitely not just America that this is happening in, but we have that big belly over our stomach. And that big belly fat layer of toxic substance that's sitting there is what's blocking our chakras from having their function. So when we have these processed foods in us, these processed foods go right to our gut, and they start blocking away our chakra's ability to spin and function properly. So I love this. I have a comment that I just want to drop in and share with y'all. Is I know that the third chakra is a huge challenge for a lot of people because, well, we've been living in a third dimensional realm, so we've
Hmm.
been on the third chakra's plane for a long time. We've been in the
Right.
third playing field, and the third chakra's playing field has some really awesome things like self-love and confidence and personal power and self-esteem. But then it has some really ugly things like manipulation, greed, domination, violence, war when it's misused. And that's all coming from a lack of self-love. These people are not able to find their own self-worth and their own self-value, so they go out and try to take it from other people in very violent and manipulative ways. And that comes to the third chakra. I mean, that one, if we really want to dive into that space for a moment here, because you have a comment on it, is really learning to harness that core strength, feeling the fire, and learning to love. Because core work is really challenging for a lot of people, and like physical, actual core work. I'm a yoga teacher as well, outside of a health coach, so this is an area that I really tap in with. And doing strenuous core work, you have to learn to love that fire that you start to feel and recognize that that fire that's there is the fire of transformation. When fire enters the realm, fire burns things down and new life starts. So that fire that's in our core, that third chakra, that power, we're
Mm.
afraid of it because it's painful when we exercise it, but we need to think of it instead of a pain as a transformative fire within us, a deeply transformative fire. And I
Right.
bring that into my attention when I'm doing that core work so that I can build up my self-esteem by saying, okay, I'm doing these crunches and they're painful, and my mind is saying all these things about, oh, that fire is painful, but no, that fire is transforming your ego voice into light and love. So it's really important that we let that ego voice about the fire fade away. So yeah, looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I agree with you, and I think that the work that we do in the third chakra tends to be the work in relationship to others and how we show up in the world, our will, our core identity. And I think that if we have not developed that relationship in that second chakra, we have a lacking of personal value, and then we can go ahead and use into that third chakra, into our relationships, the manipulation that you speak of. Because you see, if we don't love ourselves, and if we're not honest with ourselves, and if we haven't learned how to nurture ourselves and be kind and compassionate to ourselves, of course we are just simply going to project all of that lack into our relationship dynamics, which are being taught to us in the world, in our daily lives, in our family, in our work relationships, in our love relationships. And so if we have not developed that baseline relationship with ourselves, obviously it's really going to show up in that third chakra work, in our inability to learn how to be assertive, and to learn how to be discerning, and to learn how to set appropriate boundaries, which I think is what one of our callers was discussing about.
Yeah, boundaries is so, so, so important, especially if you're walking the path as a healer or an empath or someone who's very compassionate and sensitive energetically, who's experiencing a big part of these shifts, that the boundaries are so important for us to learn to be comfortable to draw. I, for instance, had this man come up to me the other day at a festival that I was at who wanted some healing, and he was coming at me in a very a way that was offensive to my energy, and I very quickly had to draw boundaries and let him know how I would allow our conversation to continue, and if it wouldn't be within those boundaries, it was not going to continue anymore because I felt him taking away my power. And we have to learn to draw those boundaries from those energy vampires who are trying to take our power away so that they can feed their ego. So that's a huge thing of recognizing where the people in our lives show up and are taking our power away from us by their inability to have their own. So they're trying to suck it out of those around that they see coming up in a big way, like, hey, this person's showing up and putting their life out there and putting themselves out there. I want to go take their energy from them.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that I think a lot of times, the good majority of people in this world have really, really good intentions, and I think the problem is the majority of people are so unconscious, and because they have so much fear energy and so much lack and so much low self-worth, I think that just because of all of that negative energy in their field, they are naturally feeding off of people, not because they mean to, but because that's their state of consciousness. And so because of that charge, they pull off and feed off of other people. In a lot of ways, I really believe that it's an unconscious thing. And until they learn to cultivate their life and be able to step into their life force and be able to live in a much more positive manner where they can actually create energy and actually share that in a very conscious way, that's essentially what they're doing. You're right. They're being a vampire. They're sucking off. They're feeding off of people unconsciously.
Oh, it's unconscious. Absolutely, it's absolutely 100% unconscious because our whole lives we've been unconscious on this planet, pretty much working out of our subconscious program. But I love that because it really ties in kind of where I wanted to go next with discussing the different dimensions of self-love, and we were talking about there's a lower dimension of self-love, and then there's a higher dimension of self-love, and then we have what one of our guests mentioned on the upper chakras, which we got the highest dimensions of love, and then that lower dimension, though, that's where our society and our structure has really been breeding off of. And the lower dimension, what this means, the lower dimension of love, what that is. This is the space where you are me. It's me, me, me. I am me, me, me. It's my personality. I'm my own individual self, and I have this personality. And say my personality is I have, really short, spunky hair, and I make loud jokes and loud comments to hide my insecurity. That's my personality. So that lower level of self-love is I'm going to go and make those funny jokes and keep continuing to cut my hair short and do these different things that fit my personality in order for me to experience a false sense of self-love. So what I'm pretty much doing in that lower dimension of love, I'm finding love through pleasing my personality. So that's a false sense of self-love. So that enters that lower dimension. the shift that needs to happen in order for us to start to bridge our walkway into the upper realms, into the heart, and into, you know, that third space where we're loving ourselves and then able to give that love to others, is that switch from recognizing that it's not me anymore, it's I am. I am here. I am present. I am me and I am you. You're all I am. And that recognizing of oneness really starts to stem that bridge, and you can start to walk up into the next dimension of love, which is where you're surrendering to knowing that I am. There is no more personality. That is a personality that was created when I walked into this world, but that is not who I am. That might be me, but that's not who I am. And that's when that switch hits, when you can switch over and detach yourself from your personality and recognize, I am here, and I've got a whole lot of love in here. Like, I got a lot of love in here, and I just want to feel it. Yeah.
Absolutely, and and I think that that's a point as we go, and as we begin to make a commitment to look inward to ourselves and begin to recognize that in fact we are an observer, and that although we have a personality and we have a body and we have a physical life that we're experiencing, we are essentially the observer. We are the soul, and that and there's more to us than just identifying with the physical aspects of our experience. And when we begin to go inward and recognize that, then we can begin to bridge that gap between who we are as the individual me, and we can begin to see the we in everything, and we can begin to see everyone as ourselves. We can begin to see and love others as we have learned to love ourselves. And that's how we begin to bridge from the separation consciousness into unity consciousness. And, and it's a lot of work to get from from that place to that place. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a commitment to going inward and getting to know who we are and recognizing that we are more than just an ego and that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts.
Yeah, we are. We are the observer, the witness, and yoga, the #1 philosophy is learning to cultivate the witness perspective. You know, being in the body but not of the body, being in this world but not of this world, becoming a witness to your life and saying, okay, say I'm having a moment where my ego is talking, and you know, someone might have come into my world who, you know, they're in a different space, and they might have said some nasty things to me out of their lower space. Maybe that, you know, I'm unattractive, or, you know, I have bad taste in clothing, or anything that's very materialistic that would bring up that ego voice in my mind. You know, those are the moments where I have to take a step outside of myself and just hear my ego talk, its insecurity, and just let it have that moment of talking, but not be a part of it. I don't let that be a part of me, you know? I don't let that voice that's talking nastiness in my mind be me. I just witness it, and then I let it go. I say, okay, that was cool. That was an interesting thought that you just had to say. I'm going to pass on that one. Because that is not my truth. I know that I'm beautiful. I know that I'm loved. I know that I'm powerful. You know, that person who came in and told me that I don't have the capacity to hold my power to do this, that person is the one who has to nurture themselves with self-love. But we have so many people around us that are living in darkness, and they don't even realize that self-love exists, because they still believe that love only exists through partnership, through a relationship with another being. And that is just, I mean, that's the reason why 50 to 70% of marriages end in divorce, you know, because there's no foundation of love within. If there's no love within, there'll never be love without, you know. Everything has to first start in here, in this moment. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And rather than connecting with their partner on an emotional and a spiritual level, many of the relationships are purely physical, and at a certain point, those things have a tendency to die out. And then what happens is because people identify with love on a physical level, and they identify with all the ways that that love has gone wrong in their life, they don't have any belief in love because their definition of love has not been fun. And
Yeah.
so they have a limited definition of what true love is, and it all truly, truly begins by allowing yourself to feel the space of your essence, to feel the space of your heart, to be able to nurture yourself like a mother, and to be able to just be there for yourself in your pains, in your glories, in your sadness, in your happiness, to be your best friend. That's where self-love starts.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, we've got a friend joining me here. Absolutely, that's so beautiful. That is so true. You know, we have to have that deep within self-love, because if we don't cultivate that, we're constantly ending up looking for it, and then all these other people are looking for it, and then we're just looking for all these things, and then we end up just judging everyone that comes our way. You don't match this, because I have this, okay, say I have this box idea in my mind of what love should look like. For women, it might be a certain man with a certain bank statement, with a certain car, with a certain job that will provide for a certain family. For a man, it might be a certain woman with a certain body type, with a certain hairstyle, with a certain presence that will look nice at certain dinners. Like that box that they get put in. So now anytime they go out in public carrying their box, they're judging every single person to see if they'll fit in. So every single person that they come up to, if they don't fit inside that box, they're going to say something most likely hurtful, or they're going to treat them in a way subconsciously that's offensive. They're not going to not necessarily be mean to them, but they might ignore them because they're in a core, they don't fit their box, so why would they be interested? Why would they waste their time? People are a waste of time unless you fit in this box. And then all these people are like, why am I a waste of time? How is my life any different than yours? And then we internalize that as lack, as self-doubt, as insecurity. And then these insecurities, they're bred off of more people because everyone carries around this box. And the box goes away as soon as you start to love yourself and realize that I have got all the love in the world that I need right here to last me infinite amounts of lifetimes. But most people don't have that. So they just judge other people, and then we carry around these lists of judgments. For the longest time, I'll share a little bit about my story and cultivating self-love for myself, because there was a deep part of my life where I had not only no self-love, I had self-hate. I truly hated this existence. I hated being here, and I hated being a part of this planet. I was ready to be taken back to my galaxy where I come from. I was done with my work. And that was because I spent, yeah.
That's too cute, girl. Sorry.
You know, I didn't feel
it's cute now. It's not. It wasn't cute then.
Yeah, it's really cute now because I understand that I needed that deep healing to recognize that I'm a healer. I needed to go through that to see the darkness, to recognize where the light was. So I'm so grateful, so grateful for that, for every struggle that I've ever seen. But there was moments where that was a huge insecurity. And I carried that insecurity with me throughout every relationship because I've always been a small, petite woman. I have a flat chest. I'm very small. And men, when I was younger, were very offensive to that. They were, you know, I've had actually men tell me before that they would have married me if I had boobs. Like, that was real life words that came out of men's mouths to me many times. And that put into my mentality that for the longest time I had the lowest self-esteem. I had no body image awareness. Like, I know that I'm an absolutely beautiful woman, and for a long time I did not see that. When I looked in the mirror, I saw something totally different. I saw something that I didn't even want to look at. And it wasn't because of anything I was telling myself. It was because of everything else that everyone else was telling me about me. You know, you're too much of this, too much of that. And I ended up, because I was so small, I ended up feeding myself, shoving myself full with all of this processed food, thinking it would help my boobs to grow and help me to find the love and to finally experience love. And in turn, I ended up making myself really sick because my body is not supposed to have big boobs. It's supposed to have small ones. I'm supposed to be in this tiny little frame. And what happened was I just expanded in my midline. And then I started to develop some bone issues and some other issues from processed foods that were toxing my body, all because I was trying to fill someone else's self-image of beauty.
Right.
And then finally, I remember like the last person who said that to me a few years back, I was just like, it hit me. I'm like, wow, there's been multiple men now who have told me this. This can't be my problem. This has got to be their problem. Like, there's got to be something going on in the consciousness of men to believe that the woman is only beautiful if she has, you know, X cup size or butt size or whatever it is with her physical body. So that was my moment of being like, aha, okay, maybe this is outside of me. And I started to take that inward and started to separate myself from men for a while and really understand what it meant to be a woman, what it meant to be in a body, and what it meant to have, you know, big boobs or small boobs, or have, you know, for a man, be tall, a tall man or a short man, because I know that's something that men deal with, because I have some short male friends who feel very insecure about that because they feel like women judge them for being short. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all of these judgments we're passing on each other because of our bodies, because of this box that we're carrying around, and that box comes from an inability to love ourselves, an inability to have our needs met. So we find people who will fill those needs, and we put those needs into our box. These are the needs I need filled, and until you fill all these needs, you're not coming into my box, and I'm therefore going to judge you. And what people don't realize is that they're so powerful. If everyone listening right now, the only thing you need to hear from this entire thing is how powerful you are. You are so powerful. Your energy affects everyone around you. So powerful. The words that we say to other people affects them for the rest of their lives if they don't know how to deal with it. And thank God Almighty that I was able to recognize and to really have a strong support system. I had really powerful women in my life at the time who helped me to see clearly and to unite me in recognizing that I love myself now more than I think most people are even capable of feeling, because now it's a love that kind of like, I remember the moment my heart cracked open. It literally was like a sonic explosion. It felt like a sonic burst came out, and it built up. And at that moment, I felt everyone come into my heart. And I was just like, wow, this universe is so loving. That's all there is. Nothing else exists. Fear is an illusion. Lack is an illusion. Doubt is an illusion. We just got to strip the illusions and get back to our love. But that's just my personal story, and I know that a lot of other women have very similar stories because we live in a highly over-sexualized culture. And men have the same. They have the same things going on, but just theirs are a little less. Women's have, they have a tendency to have physical stuff come up because women are physically touched inappropriately in public by men. But girls don't go up and grab guys' junks. So their experience of this kind of cultural stigma is a little bit different, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that men don't also have this deep wound within themselves about, you know, providing for a family and feeling like they need to work 80 hours a week in order to take care of their family, when that is irrational, you know. Then they end up putting this huge gut on their stomach and end up losing their self-esteem. So
no, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that because we walk around with all of these filters of what we like and don't like, what we judge and we don't judge, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, what we do is we're spending our lives and without the capacity to develop these deep, intimate connections, these personal connections of love with each other, because we're walking around putting everybody in a box instead of putting the walls down and recognizing that we are inherently value irregardless of what we think and what we say and how we look. Just the soul itself, we are inherently valuable beings, and if we could take that as a baseline for how we approach things, then we can get rid of all of these past experiences, all these filters, and all of these things that are really keeping us from being present and being connected the way that we have the capacity to. in each and every opportunity in our lives.
Mhm.
And I can tell you for self-love from a male's perspective that absolutely, with men, I think the sensitive part tends to be their emotions. Women, it tends to be the body aspect, I think. And the men, it's the emotional aspect. And for me, stepping into my emotions and coming out of a 16-year relationship a couple years ago and reflecting on that relationship, that 12-year marriage, it was like there were points where I was made fun of for crying during movies, or I was made fun of for specific little things that did make me insecure physically, or for the fact that I was sensitive to energy, and if there were, anything in terms of sexuality or whatever, there were a lot of things that I carried out of that relationship that I had to heal on my own over the last couple years being single, and it's beautiful to be able to step back and see those things and see all of the learning and all of the healing that I've been able to accomplish. But I definitely think that there are some specific things between men and women that we have a great opportunity to heal as we become more aware that they exist, and that yeah.
Yeah, and well, this is just I just had an insight come through me, but this idea of once people recognize that the divine feminine and divine masculine is in us all. We
Mhm.
all have equal parts, divine feminine and divine masculine. That's in us all. Just because I'm in this female body and you're in this masculine body doesn't mean that you only are male. You have a deep feminine energy in you, the divine creator. There's Shiva and Shakti, and one can't happen without the other. There is no life without one or the other. They come together. Each of us have both. So once we recognize it's okay for a woman to be strong and it's okay for a man to be sensitive, because just because she's a woman doesn't mean that she doesn't have that divine masculine within her that's be loving her. So,
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely a big point, because for me, I felt that I've been spending my entire life really learning how to balance my masculine and feminine, and I think really as human beings, the more that we learn how to fully express both our masculine and our feminine, whatever it is, whether we're a man, whether we're a woman, whether we're heterosexual, whether we're homosexual, whatever our orientation is, whatever it is that we came here to experience, ultimately within us is both the masculine and feminine energies. And for us to step into our potentials as creator beings, the more we can be able to step into and embody both of those aspects of ourselves, I think the more abundant lives we can live and the more happy we can be.
yes, I love that. It was beautiful. That's such a great interpretation. I love that. Um, well, great. I want to dive into, we talked about some awesome tools that we want to share with y'all, the tools for cultivating a little bit more self-love. And, both of us went on a deep journey in order to find self-love. And constantly from my students and from the people that I work with, they always ask me, how did you get over that bridge? Or how did you end up escaping the fear and allowing yourself to love yourself in a world that, I'm going to be honest, most of the people that know me have known me for a really long time think that I'm absolutely crazy now, right at this moment in my life. They have no idea what's happening. And in this moment, I'm more true to myself than I've ever been in my entire life, with everyone around me saying that I'm crazy. And that's because I truly understand how deeply I love myself, so that I can go out into the world and share that irregardless, because I know who I am. And that's the problem that most people face, is that they don't know who they are, because they have a voice in their head constantly telling them that they are not, that they are this, that they are that, that they are this thing, and that if they don't fit inside this and then that. So I know that there are a couple things that we wanted to share that were really probably the two of the most powerful things for us that we both had in common along our journeys to self-love. Mike, do you want to start with the first thing that we talked about for the first tool, with our self-talk and how we can develop more positive self-talk in our world?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that ultimately to come to a place where we can put the brakes for a little bit, and to be able to kind of step into ourselves, being witness to how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, and really to make a commitment to being kind and being compassionate to our journey.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we are way, way too hard on ourselves, and if we can learn to nurture ourselves in a very positive and loving and kind and compassionate way, I really think that that is a good starting point for being able to nurture and cultivate self-love.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. So we have what's called I like to call it the self-esteem file. And this is a really great tool to bring into your life. And what this self-esteem file is it can be an actual folder that you have at home, or it can be a folder on your computer. And maybe you have your friends, like maybe your two closest friends, you have them list 10 things that they love about you on a piece of paper, and you put that into your file. And then you list 10 things that you love about yourself, and you put that into your file. And then say one day you're out and someone compliments you on your shoes. You would add that to your file that day and say, I have good style. Or you fill this file filled with stuff that's true about you, your self-esteem truth. You are beautiful, you are filled with ideas, you are creative, all of these positive things about yourself. So that when you are dropping down into those moments of lack consciousness and feeling really down on yourself, you'll go to that file and you'll read and be filled up with the truth. Because what happens is if we allow those negative thoughts to continue to breathe and breathe in our mind, they're just going to grow. And they're going to grow and grow and grow, and then they create in our external worlds these negative situations. So when those moments when you have that negative self-esteem, you go to your self-esteem folder and you read 10 really awesome things about yourself, and then you affirm in that moment, I am who I am, this is who I am. All of this is my truth. That random stranger that I met on the street that told me I was ugly, they don't even know me, like that is not my truth. So you read your self-esteem file, and that is an amazing tool. I read mine whenever I'm feeling a little down. It was a tool that really helped me to get through some of my most challenging parts of my life, because it helped me to see myself clearly. And I think that is the biggest problem, is that we're unable to see ourselves clearly because there's so many other people's perspectives coming in to fog our reality.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I certainly think that that's an excellent tool to be able to remind ourselves, and until we get to such a grounded place that we can, it almost becomes automatic. But we have to start at a certain point, which is to make that commitment to reminding ourselves and really laying a strong foundation for really always being supportive of ourselves and really being our best friend. Really just being that presence for ourselves. And I think sometimes because people get so caught up in identifying themselves with their thoughts, they forget that they have the capacity to step back from their thoughts and actually look at them and actually change them and actually empower themselves. They don't even, many times I don't even think they realize they have that capacity. So that's a great starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that one is really great. And I know that we just had a comment from one of our people that are joining us here that I definitely want to address, because I think it's really important. I have mindfulness awareness training. I'm a yoga teacher, as well as I've taken classes with the University of Metaphysics and an Agape University in meditation and mindfulness. So this is an area that I'm well versed in. I also teach mindfulness classes 4 days a week in Los Angeles. For me, the gratitude journal that you're doing is awesome. Continue to do that, because I love that gratitude journal. What I find, some things that helped me, and these are they're going to sound maybe small, but these were real things that helped me to get with my thoughts when I was in those moments of really trying to, I knew that there was multiple heads that were speaking in here. I knew there was an ego. I recognized a higher self. I knew there was a subconscious and a conscious, and I was recognizing those different voices, but I couldn't get the ones to stop. So I wore a rubber band around my wrist. And anytime a negative thought would come into my mind, I snapped that rubber band. If when someone walked by me, my ego spoke up like, oh, that girl has a terrible shirt on, I snapped that rubber band, because that was not my truth. And even though I had this training in mindfulness, our ego needs discipline. I like to think of it as, it's a small child. The ego has the consciousness of a small child, and we need to talk to it and teach it in that same way. And the way that we are able to communicate with a child who's not developed, doesn't have the brainwaves developed, is sometimes through positive and negative reinforcement. That's how we, train our dogs and our cats, positive and negative reinforcement. We got to think of our ego at that low level of consciousness. So when I was having really nasty thoughts someday, I wore a band around my wrist, and I negatively reinforced those thoughts. And eventually, that actually was amazing. It's helped me to get rid of foods and other things like that. That was one thing that really helped. But the next technique that I personally wanted to share, and this is my favorite one, that has helped me, because I recognize that the thoughts that were happening in my mind, that those negative emotions, those negative thoughts that I was really not able to overcome, were the ones that came from my first 5 years on this planet, when they were not super awesome. And those years are buried deep within our root chakra, deep within our fascial layers of tissue. We hold on to those ones. So this is a practice that I suggest doing many, many times, or whenever you're feeling like you need to invite a little bit more love. And I'm going to share actually maybe 2 different ways of using this. One way is going to be able to use this in a private setting. So say this is going to be on a day when you really want to spend some time on cultivating self-love. So on this day, make this day, this day is going to be a day that I'm showering myself in self-love. So on this day, you spend the day going and smelling flowers and, having, nice things to eat and just really pleasing your senses. You don't put toxins in your body on this day. Try to keep clear of toxins, alcohol, caffeine, and stuff like that on this day, because this day you want to have a conversation with the small being within that night. So you spend this day in a really loving way. And then at night, when you get in bed, turn up your lights, and you have, maybe some nice music playing, maybe some incense, some candles light yourself, set yourself up really nicely, and make sure that no one's going to come in to disturb this time. And you're going to lay in your bed, and you're going to hold your hands on your heart, and then you're going to start breathing into this space. And then you allow yourself, with your words in your mouth, to start to take you deeper and deeper. And then I like to visualize myself walking down a staircase. I walk down a staircase, and I go down into the bottom of my being. I walk the stairs down into my root, where little Jessica lives. Little Jessica lives in my root chakra, and I like to go down there to visit her, because she needs to feel secure sometimes. So I'll lay there in my bed, and in that moment I start to imagine myself walk down these stairs into my root to the small girl that has the issue, because the issue is not present, it's from the past. And in that moment I have a conversation. I let her know, I let little Jessica know that I'm here now. I've got this. You are safe. You are secure. It's okay to let go of that fear. I've got this. I'm here. I'm awake, and I'm clear. And I have those moments with myself. And then the second part, the way you'll finish it after you have this conversation, you've taken yourself within yourself, and you're talking to, you're nurturing the child within you. The second part, you don't have to be in this setting. You could take this and do anywhere. Anytime someone has snuck up to you and has got that ego talking and you can't get rid of the thoughts. And this is what I shared with you earlier, is that sending Reiki into ourselves. So we put our hands on our heart, and we close our eyes, and we just take a deep breath in. And when we're breathing in, we're feeling this white light coming, beaming into our heart chakra, and just filling up our heart chakra. And then when we exhale, we feel that light from coming in, bursting through every single part of our veins. Our blood just rushes this light of love throughout every part of our body. And then we inhale again deeply, feeling the energy come into our heart as we press our hands on our heart. And then when you exhale, just feel that white lava just run through every part of your veins, washing you clear, filling you up with love. And doing this 3 times to seal it up nicely. One more time, we breathe in so much love into our heart. The universe is filled with infinite love. And when we exhale, we just feel this love wash over every part of our being. We know that we are pure love. Nothing else exists. So we can have that end our time with ourselves in our meditation, ending it that way. Or we can do that in our car if someone is, you just left a meeting and someone was like really, you're at work and your boss just yelled at you and told you you're an imbecile or something along those lines and made you feel really bad about yourself. You go to the bathroom or you go to your car, you go somewhere private and you send yourself some love. Those are the minutes we have to send ourselves love, because we have to counter the negative energy that was just put into our body with positive love. Otherwise, we'll never get rid of those thoughts. We've got to fill ourselves daily with positive thoughts, because it's a discipline. I spent 4 or 5 years now getting my mind to a space of being completely present. And the biggest things that helped me were the discipline. Whenever a negative thought came in, I said cancel, or I said no, or I'm instantly cancel it. Because if you don't instantly cancel it, universal consciousness starts manifesting it. And then it brings in more of that negativity. So I instantly practiced, I started 2 years ago practicing a cancel. Anytime something negative would come in, I'd either snap myself or I'd cancel it, or I'd instantly have some type of negative word to say. I love this. One of our guests just commented 8 positive words to every 1 negative thought. That is so great. I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's just filling ourselves up with the positivity and recognizing when the negative mind comes in, knowing that it's okay that it's there. Now, in my space, I have a time in my calendar that is ego time. It's scheduled ego time. Yes, because I found that for so long, when I started to really get deep into my meditation and deep into my work, I suppressed my ego, and it got hungry. And then when it would come out, I would have rage, or I would have these binge fests on chocolate and peanut butter and candy and sugar and just negative things that my ego fed on, because it wasn't getting any attention then. Because at that time I was confused and I was thinking that I needed to take all the power because I was still in my ego, And then I recognized, oh, okay, I need to allow my ego moments to talk to me, because it has things to say. And some of them aren't all bad, but if I don't allow it time to talk, it's gonna sit in there and fester and fester and fester and fester and fester. But now I have in my calendar an hour of my day or an hour of my week. It's usually my week. I don't give it every day. I give it once a week kind of thing, and I allow it to speak. And I sit there and I just listen. I just listen to what it has to say. And at the end, I say, thank you so much. I am so grateful for your presence in my life. I am so grateful for your words. I will see you next week. I will talk to you next week. Until then, goodbye.
That's very good.
And that's been powerful for me in helping me get over those last few hurdles. Once you recognize that you have those voices, and you recognize, I think some of our guests are talking about these last few hurdles that you get to. And those last few hurdles are the ones when we have to step up our discipline, step up our self-talk, step up our love, step up our nurturing, step up surrounding ourselves with people who love unconditionally, Yeah. I personally took my Facebook page, and like 6 months ago, I canceled my Facebook page and I started a brand new one. Because I had about 2,000 friends on that Facebook page, and about 1,500 of them had nothing to say but negative stuff. So every day when I was on my Facebook, I was being fed with negativity. So 6 months ago, I started a brand new Facebook after I had my rebirth, after that meditation that you so kindly helped me get into. And I started a new Facebook, and I only accept people who are speaking truth, consciousness, love, and light into this world. So now whenever I'm on my social networks, all I'm receiving is positive love. Because that's what we need. We need to infuse this world with positive love. Yeah. Beautiful. So,
I absolutely think that we are birthing a new blueprint for love on this earth, and I think that, this is a great time on Earth here.
Yeah, beautiful. It is. It's such an empowering time. Like, we are so, so fortunate to be on this planet right now and to be a part of this evolutionary shift. Our souls have worked for lifetimes to be a part of this. I'm so excited, and I'm so grateful for everyone who's tuning in right now, because if you're tuning in, you're tapping into an awareness that this life is about a little bit more than what we've been told. And that's all you need. All you need is a little bit of hope, a little bit of curiosity into experiencing something more. You know, once you have that feeling that there's got to be something more, tune into our show. If you know someone who is experiencing that feeling that there's got to be something more, tell them to come and sit on this free forum with us where we're going to be talking about every first Wednesday of the month this kind of stuff, things that our people want to know about. We are experiencing energetic shifts in this planet. We are experiencing high levels of consciousness. People are telepathically communicating with each other, and they're unable to understand what that means or what's happening or why this is all going on. So we are here to have these conversations with you, to talk to you about our experience through awakening, through our experience of opening up our chakras, to recognizing that we're sitting here with this beautiful man from the Pleiadian galaxy, and you're sitting here with an intergalactic shaman who's been doing this for many lifetimes, going to planets, and we're very comfortable in saying that. And so we are so grateful for everyone that is on this and everyone that, you know, wants to continue this journey, because we need to come together as one light, one love, and just lift this planet out of its darkness into the light together. And that's only going to happen when we break down our walls and allow ourselves to experience self-love so that we can share that love with the whole world. Once you have unconditional self-love, you pour love into everything. Everything that you touch, everything that you do is just filled with love now, because that's all you are. And that is what we need to, that's where we need our goals and our mentality and all that stuff. Our goals shouldn't be focused on building more abundance and all these things. Our goals should be focused on figuring out how to love ourselves more and filling ourselves up with love, and then sending that love out into the universe. I had this beautiful thing come to my mind about, you know, really letting go of the old paradigm and stepping into my calling as a healer and as a teacher of spirituality, is that I had to let go of the fear of money and a fear of these things, because I recognize that when you put love, whatever you put love into, gold is coming out of it. That's the only thing, because love is pure gold. And that program is what I'm now putting into my mentality, that anything I put love into, gold is coming out of. So, yes. It looks like we're going over our time here, so I'd like to honor and value everyone's time so much. I thank you all so much for tuning in with us. I definitely want to, one more time, just seal this meeting together with our affirmation, so that you can carry this affirmation with you throughout the rest of your week and the weeks to come. And that affirmation is, I open myself to the healing power of love. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited, and I hope that y'all will tune in with us first week, every Wednesday. We're going to be bringing you our love unconditionally from here on out. Peace and love, everyone.
Love y'all.
Thank you.